This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. A traveling Midway that pops up at summer fairs across the province may soon be tearing down its carnival for good. The business says new federal limits on temporary foreign workers would be devastating and prevent it from welcoming more guests. The CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
Ken Kernicki brings mini roller coasters to a town near you.
The kids love it. They can go on with their parents.
Kernicki loves contributing to the joy at Manitoba fairs every summer, but he questions if he can keep going.
Haven't even had one person come to the show office and say, hey, I want a job.
Putting these rides together takes a lot of people. Wonder Shows is increasingly relying on temporary foreign workers to do it. 5 years ago, Kernicki brought over 10 workers from Jamaica for the first time. Next year, he says he'll need 30. But Kernicki says if the federal government cuts back on the number of temporary foreign workers, it would jeopardize his business.
Basically, if I don't get them, I'm going to shut my doors because I just can't find people to work.
The feds are clamping down as experts warn new arrivals are driving up unemployment. Ottawa is specifically targeting low-wage workers, with some exceptions like healthcare and agriculture. It's unclear if Wonder Shows would be impacted. Starting pay for their employees isn't much higher than minimum wage, but they work lots of overtime.
When they're making time and a half, they're making good money.
A business leader has reservations about the new federal policy.
The reality is that, businesses throughout the province, and this is not a big secret, have had a challenge with attraction of talent, and that immigration has been a key staple of a growing economy here in Manitoba.
All good to go down the road.
Back at Wonder Shows, Kernicki worries his Midway won't travel much longer, and he's not sure another company will replace him at Manitoba's fairs.
If we're not around, I guess they're not going to have amusement rides. And everybody's struggling in this industry.
He hopes the Canadian government will keep his show going. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Oakbank.
Manitoba's public school teachers sealed the deal Tuesday on a new contract. The Teachers Union hosted a signing ceremony this morning. The Manitoba Teachers Society says wage increases exceeding 12% over 4 years will help to level the playing field. Previously, different school divisions have had different teacher salaries, but this contract, the first provincial-wide deal, will change that. MTS President Nathan Martindale anticipates it'll help rural divisions that currently have lower salaries to recruit and retain staff.
Going to attract more teachers to go into the teaching profession. Teaching is a good job. We've talked about that recently, recruitment and retention of teachers. It's a problem not only here in Manitoba, but across Canada and even the world. So this collective agreement is going to work on curbing that trend and having more teachers see teaching as a profession that they want to not only get into, but stay in.
Meanwhile, the Manitoba School Boards Association says divisions have budgeted for higher salaries and back pay this year. But with the province set to unveil a new funding model for education next year, it's unclear what the future holds for ratepayers. Dozens of Air Canada pilots lined the curb at Winnipeg's airport today to warn passengers they're ready to strike. Air Canada and its 5,400 pilots have wrapped up 2 months of conciliation with no deal. Gilles Boisonneau is with the Airline Pilots Association in Winnipeg. He says they're hoping to avoid a strike.
What we're looking for in this is that we've been behind a 10-year contract that's now ended, and we're just looking to get the recognition and the compensation that all of our peers across North America get.
Boisonneau says pay, pension, and quality of life are the main issues. The pilots could be on strike as early as mid-September. Air Canada passengers who have booked flights around the possible strike date will have some flexibility in rebooking their travel. Some tenants forced out by flooding at a downtown Winnipeg apartment building a week ago need a new place to live. Water started spewing from a pipe last Monday on the 12th floor of the 25-story Holiday Towers high-rise. CBC's Cameron McLean spoke to tenants who say repairing the damage could take months.
This is where water soaked on my hamper. There's a stain.
Ramona Wiebe has lived in the Holiday Towers building on Hargrave Street for 19 years. Now she's looking for a new place. The property manager needs to make repairs to her unit and others in the building.
Because they have to do a big job. They might have to, they don't know where there could be moisture damage, and then you're going to have mold.
230 people were forced out of their homes. Some of them have started to return, including Wiebe. But yesterday, she says she got a call from the property manager telling her she has to move out. For Wiebe, it means losing friends, amenities, and possibly her balcony garden.
It's a little, but it's still a lot, and am I going to be able to find a place to keep my garden? I can't live without a garden. I'll go cuckoo clock, I just know it.
CBC News spoke to 2 other tenants who say they've been told they cannot stay in their units. It's not clear how many people have to find new places to live. At the time of the flooding, the city said it was helping 24 people with temporary housing. We asked the property manager how many people had to leave and for how long. The company hasn't answered our questions. Winnipeg police have been investigating but say no arrest has been made. Wiebe says she's trying to remain optimistic.
I don't want to have to move yet, but I'll make my new neighborhood my new neighborhood. I'll find everything I need. And
Wiebe says the company told her she would have the option to move back into her suite once it's fixed, but that could be months, and she doesn't know where she will go in the meantime. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
If you were hoping to cash in on the province's security system rebate program, well, you're out of luck, as the budget has once again been used up. The province started offering rebates of up to $300 in June. It was available to homeowners, renters, and small business owners who purchased security cameras and other anti-crime equipment. The $500,000 earmarked for the program was quickly used. The government then quadrupled the funding to $2 million earlier this month. Well, that's now being used up. Manitoba's Justice Minister says they will process applications submitted before the end of last week, but no decision has been made on whether to relaunch the program. Canadian Olympian Abby Dent is being honored tonight in Kenora. Dent competed for Canada at the Paris 2024 Olympics as part of the women's 8 crew. The team took home the silver medal. She started her rowing career as a member of the Kenora Rowing Club and later competed for Team Manitoba. Her hometown will be celebrating her tonight with a special ceremony as well as a boat naming, an honor the 22-year-old hopes will inspire younger athletes. I spoke with her earlier on CBC's Radio Noon.
Honestly, it's kind of crazy. Like, I've always rowed in Winnipeg. They had boats named after people, and Kenora, so being able to row in those boats and you're like, oh my gosh, this is kind of cool. Like, I'm rowing in this famous person's boat, but now to have my own boat named after me is kind of neat. And I hope other kids can look at that and be inspired as well.
She also showed off her medal, which she says weighs 2.7 pounds. Tonight's event starts at 6 p.m. Then she heads back to the University of Michigan to finish off her last year of school with her eyes set on the next games in 2028. Team Canada has announced its flag bearers for tomorrow's opening ceremony of the Paris Paralympic Games. Champion swimmer Katarina Roxon, who's competing in her 5th Games, and wheelchair basketball star Patrick Anderson, who's in his 6th and final Games, will lead Canada's parade of Paralympic athletes. Roxon has 1 Paralympic gold and 1 bronze. Anderson has 3 golds and 1 silver. The country's Paralympic team has 126 members. Canada won 21 medals at the last Games in Tokyo. And you can watch the Paris Paralympics opening ceremony starting tomorrow at 12:30 on CBC TV. You can also stream on CBC Gem and, of course, the CBC Paris 2024 app. Well, if you spent any time outside today, you know it was a very different day than what we were seeing over the weekend, which was hot, humid, sticky, More cloud coverage today, and that's what we're going to be seeing for the next few days. If we take a look at the satellite radar, you will see there are a few watches and statements. Air quality alert is what we're seeing just to the west of us, right on the Saskatchewan border there, and just over in Ontario, that's an air quality statement, and that is also because of the wildfire situation that we're seeing. So we could see some of that smoke moving in to Manitoba. It was pretty hazy and smoky last night, and you can see that cloud cover sitting over Winnipeg in the southeastern part of the province, some rain and a little storm system making its way through there this evening as well. And those temperatures, very, very different. 17 right now in Winnipeg, a little bit warmer in the west, 22 in Melita and 21 in Brandon, and up north, steady temperatures there as well. In that 19-20 degree range is what we're seeing today. As far as what's ahead, you can see that cloud cover, as we said, in the southeastern part of the province, and we're going to be watching this system that's making its way over from the corner as well. Seeing some of that making its way into the province over the next couple days. Some rain, some storms, and you can see that's really what we're going to be seeing here in Winnipeg as of Thursday when that rain continues. Tomorrow looking like a nice day, a little bit of cloud coverage, and then those next 5 days, Thursday, storms in the morning, some rain, and a cooler long weekend ahead of us. Well, after more than 40 years, the antiques at Mike's General Store are once again closing up and moving out. Mostly. The recognizable St. Vital shop closed last November, but now the space has a new life. The owner's sons use the old shop as a studio for their YouTube videos and a place to keep their extensive computer collections. Shanna Lee Vidal got a tour of the new space.
So this cash register, this is a legacy item from Mike's General Store.
I love the word, a legacy item. When we closed the shop, I put up for sale and there just wasn't enough bites at it, at even the money I'd paid for it 35, 40 years ago. So I said to the boys, you want it?
Right now we're using it for things like RAM storage. We've got drawers full of happy memory.
Oh, you spend millions of dollars building a film studio? Well, we built ours in an antique shop. From scratch! My brother Stace and I turned our father's old antique shop into a studio for both of our YouTube channels.
The aisles were very small because everything kind of ended up encroaching on the center. So for a very long time, like we're talking months, we were taking apart cabinets, we were taking apart shelves. There was a lot of lumber that came out of here, and we were careful to not just smash it all and throw it in the garbage.
We did 44 years. We shut the doors in November, and I think, in a tape measure of life, there's only so many inches left, and I want to enjoy them, and going to work every day, 9 to 5, is not what I had in mind.
We've got a bunch of G3 iMacs here, all different colors. These are compact Macs, so this kind of started the revolution of portability in home computers.
I was really concerned when Danny started buying all these computers. I go, what the heck are you going to do with them? And it didn't take very long for me to realize that, the same way I have nostalgia for maybe Yogi Bear or Archie and his friends or the stuff, the Hot Wheels I grew up with, they have nostalgia for all these old computers.
But these were very popular. And while they're, not the most useful things in the modern world, they're just super cool little artifacts. This is where like soldering would happen. We're gonna do a lot of live streaming here with, a camera facing down and one facing forward.
So this desk might be familiar to people who came into Mike's General Store.
Yeah, actually this desk used to have all these extra parts attached to it. There was like a wood frame that went up like this, and all the stereo equipment for the shop was up there. So according to my dad, this thing came from a place called Mother's Pizza in Garden City. What we'd love to do is we put a green screen behind it. My brother and I are probably going to do some podcasts or do some weird stuff. Like we used to love when Conan O'Brien would take his desk out for a drive, and so we'll probably do something like that too.
So we have a third filming station here, and I understand this one is for your brother.
That's correct. So my brother has a YouTube channel called Fiends, but where the I is a 1, so F1ENDS. He says where the F1 never ends. He's a huge Formula 1 fan. It was hard work, but it was also very rewarding work, right? We got to do it with our dad. It's something that we'll always remember.
The panel in the corner it came up for auction, I think, somewhere around March, and I thought, you know, that's so cool because it's kind of like old school meets new school. And people ask me, why do you keep buying more stuff? I said, I don't know any better.
The federal Liberals cabinet retreat underway. The annual end of summer gathering is intended to set the agenda for the fall sitting of Parliament. So, what's the top priority? More on that straight ahead. The federal Liberals have wrapped up their three-day cabinet retreat in Halifax. Despite a year of bad polling and calls for a major reset from within the party, Justin Trudeau and his ministers appear to be holding the line on their current strategy. CBC's Ashley Burke has the details.
Down in the polls, the Prime Minister and his cabinet spent 3 days planning their agenda for the year ahead as they try to make a comeback.
There are things that need to be different. We need to continue to work to bring down the cost of living, to make sure that there are affordable homes for Canadians.
They have a deal with the NDP for support that could give them a year to try and turn their political troubles around before the next election.
I'm fairly confident that that agreement is a good agreement, it's a strong agreement, and we'll get to the end of June.
But there's been no clear sign of a major reset or desire to pivot, and no suggestions Justin Trudeau must go.
All of us here have tremendous confidence in the Prime Minister.
Trudeau and his cabinet did make some big moves on some difficult issues, looking to reduce immigration numbers and slapping tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. But all signs coming out of this cabinet retreat are that they're staying the course.
Canadians understand, the question on the ballot and in the future ballot, in which society do you want to live in? And what is the vote you're going to cast, not only is going to do for you, but for the country.
They're also working on Canada's relationship with the U.S.
Our American friends understand we're moving from being nice to being strategic.
But Canada's former ambassador to the U.S. says in a phase of American protectionism, Canada needs to take more risks to help the White House solve its problems if it wants anything in return.
I think we've got to talk to the Americans about what it is that we can do to take stuff off their plate, rather than simply piling more demands.
There are questions around if the party can turn its political fortunes around with this current strategy. The next big test is a by-election in Montreal next month and a riding the Liberals currently hold. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Halifax.
Most health experts agree that Canada, just like other parts of the world, is in the midst of a summer wave of COVID-19, which has many wondering if it's a good time to get a booster shot now or wait for a more updated vaccine rolling out in the fall. Lauren Pelly went looking for some answers.
From Olympic athletes to average Canadians, plenty of people have been struck by COVID this summer.
If the science center is closed, where's...
Toronto artist Leela Hewack doesn't want to be one of them.
I'm a person who wants to be vaccinated and protected against COVID at all times.
She's hoping to get another dose as soon as possible and doesn't want to pass an infection on to her aging parents.
I don't feel good about waiting.
Health Canada told CBC News it's still reviewing new vaccines from several drug makers. We are aiming to complete the review process by early autumn, a spokesperson said.
The most common question by far and away is, should I get my COVID vaccine now?
This Toronto doctor is encouraging her patients to wait for those updated shots.
Wait for that better matched vaccine, because chances are it's going to reduce hospitalization.
American regulators already approved new COVID shots for the fall from both Pfizer and Moderna. They target one of the latest subvariants circulating this year.
Even though the vaccines may not be perfectly matched to the variants that are circulation, for high-risk people, it still probably makes sense to get vaccinated.
COVID, it continues to be a more dangerous virus than flu.
And it's evolving faster than flu too, U.S. health officials said last week.
But we have some underlying protection because of prior infection, because of past immunizations. And so the severity of illness has decreased.
Still, many experts recommend getting another dose this fall if it's been more than 6 months since your last infection or vaccine.
All the data we've ever had for COVID shows that time since last vaccination is the most important thing in predicting if someone's going to get seriously ill or not.
Certain groups also remain at a higher risk of severe disease, including people who are immunocompromised, pregnant, or dealing with underlying health conditions, and any older adults age 60 and up. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Donald Trump was hit with a new indictment today over his efforts to undo the 2020 U.S. presidential election. U.S. Special Counsel Jack Smith's indictment keeps the same criminal charges but narrows the allegations against Trump. It follows a Supreme Court opinion last month that conferred broader immunity on former presidents. The reworked indictment removes a section that dealt with Trump's interactions with the Justice Department. The top U.S. court had said Trump was, quote, absolutely immune from prosecution in that area of conduct. The special counsel's office says the stripped-down criminal case was issued by a Washington grand jury that hadn't previously heard evidence in the case. In the Middle East, the Israeli military says it has rescued a hostage taken by Hamas.
During a complex rescue mission, Qaid Farhan al-Qadi from the Bedouin community of Rat, who was kidnapped from Israel by Hamas terrorists during their massacre on October 7th, has been rescued. He is alive. He is back home in Israel.
The military says he was rescued by Israeli special forces from a tunnel in southern Gaza, more than 10 months after being abducted. Israel's government has been under unrelenting pressure to do more to bring the hostages home. The latest rescue leaves 108 Israeli and foreign hostages still in Gaza. Around a third of them are known to have died. The fate of the others is unknown. And we'll be back with your 7-day forecast and what's ahead for your long weekend. That's straight ahead. Stay with us. A nice change of pace for some people today with that cooler temperatures. That sun has popped out and it will stick around for tomorrow, looking for a high of 25 degrees. Then we are going to see some rain and some cloudiness on Thursday, looking for a high of 22. And as we get into that long weekend, those temperatures going to cool down a little bit. Our normal for this time of year sitting around 23, 24 degrees. Those overnight lows as we get into later in the weekend, you're going to need a little sweater if you're heading out. But you know what? Nice time to keep those windows open and just enjoy a little bit of that chill overnight. because it is the last long weekend of summer. Well, normally we'd end our show with your daily lift, but as we get closer to the Labor Day weekend and that unofficial end of summer and kids head back to school, we wanted to leave you with some photos shared by our listeners and viewers of Manitoba's wonderful summer and some of your favorite moments. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow.